Well, I spent enough time postponing it, so let's get the next part of this playthrough going. Yeah, even without seeing the levels involved, the fact that the other team has a Kadabra and a Gyarados at this point, that is demoralizing enough without seeing that 5 of that team are level 20, and one of them is a bit beyond that. Whereas Crystal's team's highest level is 16. Again, this is a second gym team from the second generation, going against a team meant to take on the second gym in the first generation. And just looking at that, there's no way you can really claim that the two generations really mesh that well together. Hell, this is probably one of the big reasons that Pokemon never had another Pokemon Stadium-style game, where you could compare a team from a previous generation with one from the current one so easily. Different generations encourage different growth rates as you make progress in a given region. And, different creatures in each town for you to capture. And while the battle in the aftermath of the first gym already showed that the first generation has a starting advantage, this battle really will just go to show that the advantage goes on for quite a bit of time. I wonder how long until the second generation's team starts to feel around on par with the first generation's, and if I'm just gonna start using Pokemon that I used in the first generation team. Is hard to say just yet, but this first exchange from the first two Pokemon in this battle really doesn't make me all that confident in Crystal Team's future to feel particularly distinct. Poor Caboose is barely a speed bump here. And none of them look like they're anywhere near good enough to make up for the sheer level difference we have to deal with right now, especially not after the iffy showing I had at the end of the previous clip against Red Team's first gym configuration. Still, you can't say I'm not gonna go down swinging. Is it more or less honorable to surrender when you know you have no chance versus fighting to the bitter end? It's a little hard to say since the only thing on the line is pride here, and it's not like I have all that much pride anyway. If anything, I'm overly harsh on myself and don't give myself enough credit for accomplishments I do manage to do. And this self-inflicted ass-kicking really isn't going to do much to change that.
Neither combatant is showing signs of fatigue yet. There's the attack. That didn't accomplish much.
It doesn't have to, considering it's the only attack Kohaku has that can harm a ghost. And it's not like Vincent is going to stand much of a chance when Meek shows up. Hell, I'm pretty sure Kohaku is the only one that Vincent would stand any chance against here.
That didn't do much. How's that? A light hit. They're both hanging tough. What's next? It's not very effective. What'll it do? It's gripped by
I suppose the paralysis is appreciated, but the fact that Kohaku managed to get us to yellow condition first, despite Caboose getting a hit or two on him before Vincent took the field, yeesh. This battle is most definitely not going to contribute much to the board of how many trained Pokemon our current team has taken down. Still, definitely going to be interesting to see just how many of these guys from the older team we can take down when the odds are this bad against us.
That was a glancing blow. What's this? Oh, that was weak.
The attack may have been weak, but so are we. And I'm not convinced that Vincent is going to be able to be the one still standing when this long exchange is over. Though, standing is probably not the right word to use, really. The guy doesn't even have any legs.
A hot battle is unfolding. What's next? A light pass. What'll it do? That didn't accomplish much. The white-hot battle continues.
The only possible thing that could be hot about what's going on right now is the weather. And that's just a guess since I'm seeing a reasonably sunny day in this environment. It's not like I have any idea how warm or cold this park might be or what season it is. I'm just guessing that it's the middle of summer.
What's this? That did little damage. How's that? Yes,
Rest well, Vincent. You did all you could considering the situation. Maybe one of the others will be able to finish the job.
There's a distinct difference in the number of remaining Pokemon for each side.
There's an even bigger issue where we don't have all that many answers for the Pokemon that Red Team is going to be able to field here. It's kind of a novelty to be on the other end of a one-sided ass-kicking and get a feeling for how the non-player characters in your usual Pokemon game feel when they're just treated as a source of experience and money.
It's not very effective. There it goes! Hit! That inflicted some damage.
Some? Venus is over half dead, you bloody fool! Vincent was literally the only one that didn't have to deal with that bloody horn attack, and without him we're just gonna get gored repeatedly.
The heated action continues. There's the attack. Oh, that was weak. There's the attack.
That certainly wasn't weak, and we've lost half our team without a single win of our own. Have I mentioned that this is pretty damn one-sided against us? It's all self-inflicted, but again it felt like something to throw into the first and second generations of Pokemon, since it's completely impossible to pull off anything like this in the later generations as far as I know.
There's a big HP difference between the two combatants. What now? That did little damage.
Everything we've got outside of maybe Flender's Bite and Gramash's Ember is going to do very little. I felt completely defeated the instant I saw the level difference between the two teams. Much less when I saw that the other side had heavy hitters like Kadabra and Gyarados this early on. And that kind of attitude probably doesn't help to deal with this kind of disadvantaged situation.
There's the shot. Hit. That inflicted some damage.
Yet another member of the team that can only take 2 hits from the first damn Pokemon that Red Team unleashed. With the exception of Caboose and maybe Gramash, it feels like our team just can't take a hit that well.
Serious attack. Great hit. Down it goes. There's a distinct difference in the number of remaining Pokemon for each side.
Yeah, we're down to 2, and while I'm sure we'll eventually be able to take down Kawaku, there's no way we're going to be able to take on whatever comes after that.
One Pokemon is still capable of going up, but the other one looks tired.
Why the hell did I bother to use Leech Life instead of Bite? Am I just trying to show off how badass Red Team is? They already got to show off in the Generation 1 playthrough, when I was bothering to count their wins. I'm certainly not counting any of Kawaku's wins in this battle for his overall win count. He's no longer on the player's team. Well, at least Flender managed to bring that badass down despite my mistakes. That's gotta be worth something.
There's a big difference in the number of Pokemon remaining on each side. Oh, it's Gyarados!
And yeah, even if we still had Venus, I don't think we'd be getting super effective damage against Akanabori with his flying type as well. And of course, the level 21 Gyarados can outrun the level 15 Zubat. I doubt he's got a water move to get super effective against Gramash at this point, but frankly, he doesn't need it.
There's only one Pokemon left to come out. Oh, it's Quilava! It's down to the last Pokemon now.
1 on 5 when all the opponents are at least 4 levels higher and the first one he's facing is water type. This is going to hurt to watch.
What's this? Hit! That inflicted some damage. Oh, it glitched!
As if this wasn't one-sided enough.
They're both hanging tough. How's that? Great hit!
Smokescreen probably isn't going to be worth a damn, just like Leech Life. I'm just too much of a brute force focused trainer. And unfortunately, they have more brute force than I do, because I assembled the team we're fighting against!
Fight! Hit the weak spot!
Yeah, pretty predictable how that would go, but again, it felt worth going through even if I kind of feel miserable because of it. Well, losing is part of the journey and all that. Even if most people wouldn't go through the sort of gimmicks I'm adding to things, so they can easily go through the entire second generation, not facing a single loss as they grind between battles and go through things relatively smoothly. Ugh. By the way there, buddy, it's not just a matter of working on skills in Stadium. It's that our second generation team hasn't had to level up anywhere near as much as the first generation team to get through the first two gyms. Anyway, let's make some progress in Johto. This clip is probably gonna end on a bit of an abrupt point, but hey, that's just how the ball bounced here. Hopefully that's not gonna be too much of a problem. If the Pokemon doesn't respect you and just runs off instead of taking your orders, why did your boss bother lending him to you? That feels like an easy enough problem to avoid, and it's not like the game mentions what your boss might be doing while you're chopping the trees down with his Pokemon. Right, so the gimmick here is that we chase after that Pokemon when random encounters are gonna be a thing, and try to maneuver it so it heads back to the guy who was supposed to be cutting trees with this bird. Bit of a time-killing exercise, but at least it's not as much of a mind-numbing experience as trying to outright grind for levels. Though I probably still should have fast-forwarded while doing this, if only to maintain a little more sanity here. It's not like it's particularly interesting to see me beat a Weedle by using Constrict. Hell, if anything, the fights against wild Pokemon are probably one of the reasons why I occasionally did some incredibly stupid things in our previous Stadium interlude. For example, when fighting against wild Weedles, I don't like using a Poison Sting against them, since we will always get the not very effective notification. Constrict ends up feeling like a much more viable move, if only because we don't see the little notice that it's not very effective, since it lands for neutral damage. But frankly, Constrict does so little damage that when it lands neutrally, it's still a bad move. It looks kinda similar to Wrap, but it doesn't have the same effect as Wrap, which further muddies the waters a bit. All in all, you can kinda get away with using a bad move like Constrict against wild Pokemon, and some of the various trainers, because pretty much anything that causes damage will do a decent amount if your level is high enough. But the difficulty of the AI in Stadium is a completely different beast, especially if they're close to your level, if not higher. They will rarely make mistakes unless you set it on easy. I have no clue what the difference is when you go from normal to hard. It's not like I know what difficulty the AI has when I go to the actual Stadium battles, and when facing one of my alternate teams, I always set the AI to normal. Yeah, Constrict really isn't taking this guy down in any hurry, but then we're generally pretty used to enemies that take a long time to bring down, because they only use defense moves like Harden or Defense Curl, so yeah, this isn't our first time running into this issue. Something we had to deal with all the way back in Viridian Forest in the first game. Not that it's all that far back, considering we're still working on the second generation, and there's an obscene amount of footage left in said generation before we're done. Still, if we're going to be dealing with Kakunas while trying to corral that Farfetch'd where it needs to be, I might have to fast forward. Fights like this really will make the simple job worse than it actually should be. I know it's more my fault than the game's with the way I'm handling this particular fight, but hey, if it's a problem that I can easily see driving me crazy in the footage, it's something worth mentioning, even if it's my own damn fault for not switching to a Pokemon with harder hitting moves. Maybe it's the fact that Lurker is painfully close to leveling up right now. Please tell me that winning this overly long brawl against a defenseless little Kakuna is going to actually take her to level 15. I'm pretty sure we would have stopped seeing this sort of thing in Viridian Forest in the first generation, at least from wild Pokemon. Though I'm sure a good number of trainers we run into might have pulled this kind of constant hardening bullshit after that point, but I severely doubt we were dealing with this kind of stall-out bullshit from hostile Pokemon after beating the Cerulean Gym. Good work leveling up there, Lurker. Hope you don't mind that my finger is going to be very close to the fast-forward button after that, though. Well, that's significantly less annoying to have to take down. So apparently, when bug types don't have poison on top of bug, they're weak to poison. Excuse me, but that's one of the many little things in the typing chart that's easy for me to forget, especially considering how many bugs are poison type. Much like the fact that using grass moves against a Gyarados isn't gonna have the same impact as grass moves on any other water types. Part of me really feels I should have an electric type for more anti-water and some anti-air abilities. Unfortunately, I want a slot dedicated to a physical Pokemon like Golem or Machamp. Sure, our starter can learn Strength just like he can learn Cut, but I always try to make my grass type on a given team learn Cut, and I really want to avoid any members of my team having more than one HM move if I can help it. Again, I am just not a fan of making a Pokemon into an HM slave. And with that, we've pushed the little guy to where he needs to be. I'm actually a little surprised we didn't have to deal with more random encounters there, but then that's part of the reason why they're called random. You never know which step you take is going to trigger the next one, or which of the possible enemies you'll end up fighting. Though I'm sorry to say that Pokemon is mostly one-on-one system and all that, makes it tough to really give a damn about any given encounter unless you're trying to capture whatever just happened to pop up. It's not like we've needed to use any strategy or tactics as we've wandered around. After all, we're just brute forcing our way through. Assuming you can really call it brute force when I'm using a weak attack like Constrict. Looks like I didn't need to fast forward as much as I was worried about, but I'm still probably gonna hit that button as we go through the forest in the next clip. It may be new territory, but it's not like there's all that much that particularly interesting is going on around in this place. It's just another road between us and the next town, with more of a danger zone for random encounters instead of just small grassy fields. Why did you feel the need to say that when I think you can't even activate this short little quest before you've beaten the gym? I suppose it doesn't matter all that much. Either way, we're pretty much done with this town. Again, hope nobody minds that this clip is going to have an abrupt ending. But again, I really don't like risking these clips ever going over half an hour long.